Hello friends, welcome to Código Amat. In today's video I am going to explain the second part of a group of videos entitled AN plus 3 and SN plus 3. Before we start with today's video, I use this page on the right to briefly remind you that in the previous video I explained in depth the three alternative options of the AN and the three alternative options of the SN. I recommend that you watch the previous video to better understand what I am going to explain today. I also use this introduction to preview a summary of today's video. On the top page, we see a transaction that gives rise to a kind of a screenshot and that would represent the response of the Amadeus system to show us the options that exist on a flight from Barcelona to Madrid with the airline Iberia. Below that information screen, I will be commenting in detail on what each of the data that appears on it means. I also tell you that the transaction that I am going to explain today is one of the many examples that will be explained in subsequent videos about what type of requests can be made to the Amadeus program through the AN and SN codes, as well as through their three associated codes. I start with the video. Let's go. The question we ask Amadeus is the following. SN 2 JULBCNMAD/AIB. After pressing enter, Amadeus will show us on the computer screen the information of all the flights that exist on July 2nd from Barcelona to Madrid with the airline Iberia. I already explained in the previous video that SN initiates any transaction whose objective is to have screens of the flights of a given day, regardless of whether there is no availability. In the previous video I explained that if we only want to know the flights that have seats available or on the waiting list, we must replace SN with AN. We also see that within AN we can organize the available flights according to the time of arrival, with AA according to departure time with AD, and according to the duration of the flight with AE. I also explained that SN can be replaced by SA if we want to organize the flights operating on the desired day according to the time of arrival, replaced by SD if we want to organize them by departure time, and by SE if we want to organize them by flight duration. 2JUL is the abbreviation of July 2nd. BCN is the code that represents the city of Barcelona. MAD is the code that represents the city of Madrid. A is the letter that must be written after the slash to indicate that the following code is going to refer to an airline. IB is the code that represents the airline Iberia. Now I am going to analyze Amadeus' response. Iberia SN refers to the full name of the airline Iberia, and SN indicates that the screen in front of us is of the SN type. MAD Madrid ES refers to the arrival city code and the full name of the arrival city. ES indicates that the country where Madrid is located is Spain. 64 refers to the number of days remaining until departure, taking as a reference the current day on which we are searching for the information. TU02JUL refers to the day of the week on which the trip would take place, which in this case is Tuesday. We also see the number of the day in July on which the trip would take place. In this case, the day is July 2nd of the year in which we are searching. 0000 is the data that would affect the time we require the flight. We see 0000 when we haven't specified a specific day. Let's go to the next line. The number 1 refers to the reference number of the affected segment on a flight availability screen. Segment number 1 affects all the encoded information we see on the right. All this set of information is considered a segment, which in this example has the number 1. Now I ask you to pay close attention to what I am going to comment. Maximum attention, please. Here we only see one segment, but it is normal to see several segments with several groups of encoded information, similar to that of segment number 1. Segment number 1 represents the first travel option, but Amadeus could offer us more travel options by showing more segments similar to the number 1 with some different characteristics. That way, we would have several travel options and all of them would have a reference number at the beginning of the line. Please stay focused. What I am going to explain is not easy to understand. If there were many segments with travel alternatives and they did not all enter the computer screen, we would have to type MD plus enter at the bottom of the computer screen, and we would automatically see a new screen with more segments and more travel alternatives. MD stands for Move Down. I made a group of videos called Scroll. I recommend that you look them up to find out how to move forward and backward in everything related to pagination in Amadeus. The last thing I am going to tell you about segments similar to number 1 is that Amadeus is going to organize them in different ways depending on the code we have entered at the beginning of the transaction, which in this case is SN. But we could have performed the availability search with SA, SD, SE, AN, AA, AV, AE. This would cause a different way of organizing flight options. I recommend that you watch the video above to understand how Amadeus is going to organize all the available travel options taking SN, SA, SD, SE, AN, AA, AD, or AE as a reference. I hope you have understood. Thank you. Let's go to other information. IV 666 refers to the flight number of the affected airline. I will explain these codes in the next page here. Slash is the indicator, and here, slash here and here, is the indicator that separates the codes of the number of seats in each class from the rest of the information. BCN1 refers to the code of the city of origin and the departure terminal at which the flight will take off. In this case, it would take off from terminal number 1 of Barcelona Airport. MAV2 refers to the code of the arrival city and the arrival terminal at which the flight would land. In this case, it would land at terminal number 2 of Madrid Airport. 13, 15, 14, 40 refers to the flight departure time and arrival time. E0 is the indicator that tells us that it is an electronic ticket using the letter E and that it does not have stops using the number 0. I am going to explain this bar in detail on the last page. E90 refers to the type of aircraft that the airline Iberia will use on this trip. 125 refers to the duration of the flight. Now I am going to explain the codes that indicate the numbers of seats available in each class. I am only going to explain the first three, J9, C9, D9, because the other 5, I9, L9, E9, F9, K9, are similar. The difference is that the first codes, J9, C9, and D9, usually belong to more expensive categories, and the last codes usually belong to cheaper categories. We can say that the price and the category are progressively decreasing from left to right, and after from left to right. Each of those 8 letters, J, C, D, I, L, E, F, and K, are called classes, but each of them belongs to a group of categories, which are also called classes and which will never be seen on this type of computer screen. These categories are usually referred to as first class, business class, and economy class. The letters that will fall into each category are different depending on the airline. On sometimes J and C may be the only letters within the first class category. But on other airlines, the letters J, C, D, and I may belong to first class. At the same time, J, C, D, I, L, E, F, and K are not the only letters that exist. Most commonly, there will be more letters with the number of seats available next to each letter. How to reserve seats in each letter and how to find out which category each letter belongs will be explained in subsequent videos. Now comes the most difficult part to explain. I ask for maximum concentration and remind you that to understand what I am going to explain next, go to the previous video where I explain the meaning of these 8 codes that we have on the right in detail. Everything I am going to explain now will have as reference the number 9. 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. The other numbers or letters that may appear instead of 9, all these 1 to 8, E, O, L, R, C, S, C, X, and the 8 codes. The 3 things it means: the 9, this list, and these codes are interconnected. Maximum concentration, please. Let's go. I start with the number 9, okay? This 9. The number 9 means that there are 9 or more seats, be careful, in the class of the letter next to it, okay? The letter next to it. For example, here we have the D, the C, and the J. And here we have 8 examples. You can see the 9 in 2 different situations. First situation. If the 9 is seen when we are working with screens such as SN, SA, SD, or SE, it means that Amadeus shows us the availability of seats before the airline officially opened the sale. In the previous video, I explained that SN, SA, SD, and SE do not show us the actual availability of each places at the time of our search. Therefore, we would see the 9 because Amadeus shows the flight's its status with all available seats. The second situation in which we can see the number 9 is when we are working with screens of the type AN, AA, AD, and AE. In this case, the number 9 would tell us the real number of seats at the time of our search. Now, I am going to tell you why I think that when we have 10 or more seats available on the screen, we don't have the numbers 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It means 2 digits, okay? I am going to tell you my opinion, okay? I am speaking about this place, 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 and this place, okay? Because before I told you 9 or more, okay? I suspect that for reasons of space on the availability screen, it was decided to configure the program with only 1 digit in terms of number of places. From the number 10, all numbers have 2 digits. Those 2 digits would reduce the space to add all the other letters, numbers, and symbols that you can see on the screen. I think that is the reason for not writing the numbers 10 onwards. I am done with the number 9. I hope you understood. Let's go to numbers 1 to 8. In this case, Amadeus always tells us the exact number of seats available in each class. If we see a number between 1 and 8 on the SN, SA, ST, and SE screens, it means that before officially opening the sale, the airline has limited the maximum number of seats in a given class to a number less than 9. It is not a common circumstance in SN, SA, SD, and SE screens, but sometimes we can find that special situation. Now I am going to explain the letters. These letters that could appear on an availability screen replacing the number of seats when the seats of each of the existing classes have been exhausted. E would appear replacing the number of seats in a specific class when the flight is of the shuttle type or an air bridge. O would appear replacing the number of places in a specific class when we have an open waiting list or closed class. L would appear replacing the number of places in a specific class when we only have an opened waiting list. R would appear replacing the number of places in a specific class when it is on request. S or C would appear replacing the number of seats in a specific class when we have the waiting list closed with no seats available. X would appear replacing the number of seats in a specific class when we have a cancelled flight. Now I am going to explain the area of the screen where you can see E0/E90. Okay? Of this information, what I left pending before without explaining was the bar. Now I am going to explain the meaning of the bar. The bar, or the other four symbols, bar and 1, 2, 3, 4 symbols, the bar and 1, 2, 3, 4 symbols on top that can appear in place in this area of the screen are called airline access type indicator. The slash means that we have a continuous connection with Amadeus. It also means that the number of places that are displayed are the real ones and that the confirmation is immediate. The type of access that is represented by the bar is called full access. If instead of the slash there is a dot, this means that communication with Amadeus is not permanent, but sales are made in real time. The type of access that is represented by the point is called sales access. If a blank space, empty space, appears instead of the bar, it means that the communication with Amadeus is not permanent and the airline has 12 hours to confirm or deny the requested seat. The type of access that is represented by the blank space is called standard access. If an asterisk appears instead of the bar, that means that we can see the available seats by going directly to the booking of the affected airline. The type of access that is represented by the asterisk is called direct access. If instead of the bar there are two dots, that means that we have a continuous connection with Amadeus, but we must wait a maximum of 12 hours to know if the airline confirms or denies the requested seat. The type of access that is represented by two dots is called update on Amadeus access. Folks, we have come to the end of the video. The following videos will run in the same way that I have made. That is, explaining each of the parts of Amadeus as extensively as possible. Remember to subscribe and like this video if you liked this video. Don't forget to share it with anyone who might be interested. It would be a good gift, both for those who need a booster and for those who didn't get a feel for the program. Above all, it would be a good gift for the latter, who now have a second chance with my videos to take advantage of the time and money allocated in the past, and that they will finally be able to make profitable. Thank you very much, and I will tell you the same thing as always. Love to be loved.